Capitalism is dying, and they're not even hiding it anymore. The World Economic Forum openly says, you will own nothing and be happy. BlackRock, the IMF, and central banks around the world are building something new, something they're calling the future of money, something they promise will be safer, more efficient, more inclusive. But here's what they're not telling you. It's a prison. A digital prison where every dollar you earn, every purchase you make, every transaction you attempt can be monitored, controlled, frozen, or erased. And it's not coming someday, it's being built right now. Stick around because I'm about to show you the 7 undeniable signs that capitalism as you know it is dead. And what replaces it will make 1984 look like a warning label they ignored. Let's start with something you've probably noticed but couldn't quite explain. Sign number 1, you don't own anything anymore. When's the last time you actually owned something? And I mean really owned it. You don't own your car, you lease it, you don't own your house. The bank does for 30 years. You don't own your music, you stream it. You don't own your movies, you subscribe. You don't own your software, you pay monthly. You don't even own your food anymore. It's DoorDash, Instacart, subscription meal kits. The World Economic Forum literally published a vision for 2030 where they say, you will own nothing. I don't own a car, I don't own a house, I don't own any appliances or any clothes, and they say you'll be happy about it. You won't. But by then, you won't have a choice. This isn't conspiracy. This came from Danish politician Ida Auken, describing the WEF's official vision. They want a world where everything is rented. Everything is subscription-based. Everything is controlled by a handful of corporations and governments. Why? Because ownership is power. If you own nothing, you control nothing. You have no leverage, no independence, no freedom. You're a customer, a renter, a subject forever. Sign number 2, private corporations are now more powerful than governments. BlackRock manages over $10 trillion in assets. That's more than the GDP of every country on Earth except the United States and China. The International Monetary Fund and World Economic Forum don't just advise governments. They write the policy, they train the officials, they coordinate the agenda. These aren't elected bodies. You didn't vote for them. You can't remove them. But they're deciding your financial future right now. And here's the dark part. They're working together. Governments, corporations, international organizations, all pushing the same agenda, all moving in the same direction. This isn't free market capitalism. This is technocratic control, a merger between state power and corporate power. And you're not invited to the table, you're what's on the menu. Sign number 3. They're building a new kind of money. And it's not for your benefit. Right now, 134 countries representing 98% of the global economy are actively developing central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. These are not cryptocurrencies. These are not decentralized. These are the opposite. CBDCs are digital versions of national currencies issued and controlled by central banks. Unlike cryptocurrencies, they are centralized and allow governments to monitor and control transactions in real time. Every transaction, every purchase, every dollar, monitored, tracked, controlled. And here's where it gets truly evil. Bo Lee, the deputy managing director of the IMF, explained it himself. With CBDCs, we can precisely control what people can and can't own. Also, what kind of use this money can be programmed for, like food only. Did you catch that? Programmable money. Money that only works for what they allow. Money with rules. Their rules. He continued. The smart contract would allow targeted policy functions like welfare payments, consumption coupons, food stamps. Translation. They decide what you can buy. They decide where you can spend. They decide if your money expires. They decide if you get to participate in the economy at all. And if you think that's exaggeration, look at China. Sign number 4. China is the blueprint, and the West is copying it. China's digital yuan integrates with its social credit system. Your financial transactions are tied to your behavior score. Say something the government doesn't like, your score drops. Attend a protest, your score drops. share the wrong article online, your score drops. And when your score drops, you can't buy plane tickets, you can't use certain trains, you can't purchase property, you can't secure loans. Journalist Liu Hu was blacklisted after exposing government corruption. He faced severe restrictions, unable to buy plane tickets, use certain trains, purchase property, or secure loans. One journalist, one article, financial exile, and the World Economic Forum. They literally published a report praising China's digital yuan as a model for CBDC use to boost financial inclusion. They're not condemning it, they're celebrating it. They're calling it a model for the world. The WF praised China for reducing reliance on physical cash and democratizing access to banking services. Democratizing. That's the word they used. For a system that gives total control to the Communist Party. And Western governments are taking notes. Remember Canada's trucker protest? The government froze bank accounts. No trial, no charges, just froze them. Because people donated to a protest. That was a test, and it worked. Now imagine that power with CBDC. No bank to appeal to, no cash to fall back on, just a central bank that can shut off your money with one keystroke. Sign number 5, your money will have an expiration date. This sounds insane, but they're saying it out loud. CBDCs offer the possibility of programmable money like tokens, which would expire if not spent. Your money. With an expiration date, earn $1,000 on Monday. If you don't spend it by Friday, it vanishes. Gone. Why would they do this? Because if your money expires, you can't save, you can't build wealth, you can't accumulate capital, you can't escape their system. You're forced to spend, forced to consume, forced to stay dependent. And here's the sick part. They'll sell it as stimulus, as helping the economy, as making sure money circulates. But what they're really doing is making sure you can never accumulate enough to be free. Sign number 6, financial surveillance will be total, and I will enforce it. Agustin Carstens, head of the Bank of International Settlements, literally said, a key difference with CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use. And also we will have the technology to enforce that. Absolute control. Those were his words. He continued. We tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference. In cash, we don't know who is using a dollar bill today. With CBDC, the central bank will have absolute control. No more privacy, no more anonymity. Every transaction you make feeds into a centralized system, and it's not just tracking, it's enforcement. Buy something they don't like. Transaction denied. Donate to the wrong cause. Account frozen. Spend too much on gas, ration applied. Eat too much meat, carbon limit reached. All automatic, all algorithmic, all enforced by AI that never sleeps, never questions, never has mercy. 134 countries representing 98% of the global economy are pursuing this. This isn't theory, this is deployment. Sign number 7, universal basic income will be the bait, and compliance will be the price. Here's how they'll sell it. Economic collapse. Job losses from AI and automation. People desperate, hungry, scared. Then the government announces universal basic income. Free money for everyone, deposited directly into your CBDC wallet. No more poverty, no more struggle. Sounds great, right? Except it comes with conditions. CBDCs enable direct payments of universal basic income, which could include programmable money like tokens. Your UBI will be programmable. It will have rules. You can only spend it on approved purchases. It will expire if not used, and if you don't comply with whatever behavioral standards they set, it gets cut off. Want to protest? UBI suspended, speak out online, UBI reduced, miss your mandatory health appointment, UBI frozen. It's not income, it's a leash. And once you're dependent on it, they own you. Now, if this is the first time you're really seeing how deep this goes, you need to subscribe. Because I'm tracking the system as it's being built every move they make, every pilot program, every policy shift. This is the information they don't want you connecting. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. So what's really happening here? Why are they killing capitalism? Because capitalism, real capitalism, has a fatal flaw. It creates winners. People who accumulate wealth, people who become independent, people who don't need the system anymore. And independent people are dangerous. They can't be controlled. They can't be coerced. They can say no. The elites can't have that. So they're building something new, something that looks like capitalism on the surface, but functions like feudalism underneath. You don't own property, you rent it from them, you don't control your money, they program it, you don't have freedom, you have conditional privileges that can be revoked anytime. It's the perfect system. For them, you work, you consume, you obey, and if you step out of line, they turn off your access to survival itself. No cash, no savings, no property, no escape, just a subscription to existence. And the terms and conditions can change anytime. This is what they mean by you will own nothing and be happy. You won't own anything because they'll own everything. And you'll be happy because resistance will be financially impossible. So what do you actually do? First, wake up to what's happening. This isn't some distant future. 134 countries are actively building this. Some have already launched pilots. The infrastructure is being installed right now. Second, hold assets they can't control. Physical gold, physical silver. But most importantly, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only asset that exists outside their system. They can't program it, they can't freeze it, they can't control it, they can build CBDCs all they want, but they can't stop Bitcoin. That's why they hate it. That's why they'll try to regulate it, ban it, demonize it, because Bitcoin is the exit, and they need to keep you trapped. Every Satoshi you own is a piece of freedom they can't touch. Every Bitcoin you hold is a vote against their system. Every transaction you make peer-to-peer is an act of resistance. Third, use cash while you still can. They're trying to phase it out. That's not by accident. Cash is private. Cash is anonymous. Cash is freedom. That's why they want it gone. Every time you use cash, you're making their job harder. Every time you refuse the digital convenience, you're preserving the option for others. Fourth, educate people. Most people have no idea this is coming. They think CBDCs are just digital dollars. They don't understand the control mechanisms being built in. Show them. Share this. Talk about it. Because the more people who see this before it launches, the harder it is to implement. And fifth, build alternatives. Peer-to-peer networks, local economies, parallel systems, communities that don't depend on their infrastructure. Because when they flip the switch, when they turn off the old system and force everyone onto CBDCs, you need somewhere else to go. Here's the brutal truth. Capitalism is dying because they're killing it. Not because it failed, because it succeeded too well. It created too much independence, too much wealth outside their control. So they're replacing it with something they call stakeholder capitalism, or the Great Reset, or the Fourth Industrial Revolution. But it's not capitalism. It's techno-feudalism. It's digital serfdom. It's a system where a small group of unelected elites control everything and everyone else owns nothing. And they're not asking for your permission. They're just building it and waiting for the crisis that makes you desperate enough to accept it. The signs are everywhere. The ownership economy is dead. Corporations control governments. Digital currencies are being deployed. China is the model. Money will expire. Surveillance will be total. And UBI will be the bait. This isn't a prediction. It's a description of what's already happening. The only question is, will you see it coming? Or will you be one of the people asking how we got here when it's too late to do anything about it? Get Bitcoin. Hold cash. Build alternatives. Spread awareness. Because capitalism is dying, and what replaces it will either be freedom or slavery. The choice is still yours. But the window is closing. Stay sharp, stay free, and whatever you do, don't let them sell you a digital prison and call it progress.